Let's move to the next lesson, data types. We did not cover this in our previous Zoom class, so this will be you have to pay attention because here in our first lesson, right, I have straight away showed you the code. Here I have integer, varchar, int, date. So you should know what this data type is, what are the different types available, actually what a data type means. So that is what we are going to look in detail in this particular lesson of data types. Okay, yeah. So let's say you have a table. If anyone has any questions, you can drop it in the chat. I will be looking at the chat. Okay. So let's say that you have a table products. You have a column product ID, product name, and then description, right? See, it is mandatory for you to tell what type of data are you storing in each column. Here I'm storing number, here I'm storing string. String is like a combination of any printable character. That means you can have ABCD, upper letter, lower letter. Also you can have numbers in this. You can say Pepsi 1 2 3. You can say, or you can say 2 Pepsi, something like that. So varchar is like it will allow both numbers. You can even have a phone number as a varchar, not an issue. But when you say number integer, you cannot have character. You can't even say 1a, 2a, 2b. No, it should be purely number. Okay. So these are the data types for this sample table. Or let's look at the other table. Okay. Here it's a GDP rank table. This is like sequence number, and I am listing the country. So when the country has the characters, I have to use varchar, right? And then you look at here, GDP, I have amounts, right? I see here the number is different than the amount. You can definitely use integer here, not harm. But the thing is, in SQL Server, they have provided a special data type to handle currency or amounts, So that is money, or in other databases you use it like decimal 12,2, right? So the meaning of this 12,2 is it will allow a number of maximum length of 12 digits with a 2 decimals. So that's what this meaning is. And the big int is like you can have a number anywhere beyond 2 billion. 2 billion. If you have, let's say, see here I am listing the population millions, but if I want to list like without this million, so I want to write something like 1.5 billion, right? 15000. So certain like this integer data type does not allow numbers beyond 2 billion. So this big int will allow. So that is the difference between this big int here and then this is again with decimals. Of course I'm not showing decimal years, but this is with decimals. And here I'm storing only date. I can't, when I say start date as date, I cannot store numbers, I cannot store names, I cannot store anything except date. I cannot store anything else. Okay. So again let's say this is another example, and then here I am encrypting my salary and storing. So you have to go for varchar or date time. Here we have seen only date, right? There is a data type called date time that will store date and time together. Okay. Again, this is the name. I'm going with varchar, but here the new data type I have introduced called char1, right? So one means I can have only one character. I cannot have more than one. So this is a use case for char1, like gender. M is male, F is female. Okay. And then even when do you use varchar and char, right? So this char and varchar both allows characters and numbers together, or just numbers. You use characters when you know the fixed length. Like M, I know it's always going to be 1. It's not that I will have something like 10 characters in this gender or 20 characters. It's never going to happen. So you look at the data in real time or in a business use case, and then define the data type accordingly. Okay. Varchar 300 means here you can have any characters up to 300, or you can have something lesser than 300. So that is the difference between varchar and char behind the scenes when it stores in a database table here, right? So what happens is let me go back to that. Yeah. So char1 means if you say let's say char2 and use only one character, still it is going to store it as 2 characters on the database. The char2. If I say char1 1. But varchar 300, it doesn't mean that it is going to store this as 300 characters on the database. it will store according to the length of the value of this row or cell. Okay, so where char stores according to the length of the string. Char always stores, if you say char 10, even if it is m, it's going to occupy 10 characters on the database or your storage or your hard disk, so you have to be very careful when you say, you can't say char 100. That means every string it will be storing 100 bytes, and then you will be wasting the space on the database. Okay, and then what are the data types? Data types tell computer what kind of information you are going to store, like numbers or words or dates. These are at the very high level. It's like picking the right container for your snacks. Chips goes into a bag or juice goes into a bottle, right? Why are data types important? They make sure the computer knows how to handle your information. Because the most important thing here, why you have to do that is, like, when you say, let's say I want to select the maximum GDP, right? So the max is a command that you can use only on numeric. Like, it makes sense on numeric. Max means it will bring this 29,000. Select max GDP, then it will say 29,000 for United States. Definitely you can also say max on here, but you really won't use that in a practical scenarios. And then here population, you can say min. So min can be applied on numbers. Min and max also can be applied on dates. I can say min date or max date. So that's the reason, like, you will be selecting data once it is inserted. So that's why you need to have proper data types. And your data quality also, right? Let's say this is date. If you do not define this as date, if you say varchar, you can also insert date in varchar. But what if someone says China here, instead of a date? Then you don't know what really, this is a bad data, right? So to maintain the data quality, you need to have a proper data type. That's another reason why you define data types on your table or columns. Okay, and then common types, we have already gone through that. Numbers, for age, price or scores. Text for names, address, description, whatever text. And dates, for birthdays or some schedule or order date. Okay, so you have to always match data type with the data. You cannot just say that I want to put soup on a plate, something like that. You need to choose the correct data type to fit your data. Again, as a fresher, you won't be defining tables, columns and data types, but you need to know this information. Okay, and again, these are the high level data types: numbers, strings, dates. True or false. This is the first time. Let's say that you are creating a table to store the attendance of a student, whether a student is present or not. So there are only two possible values, like, so we call this as boolean. Boolean means true or false, 0 or 1. You have such data types. Money, as I told you, you will store price or any amounts. And then this is the comparison. See, all this time I was just telling number, right? But again, within the number you have so many categories. Let's say in Mysql, you can define a number as tiny int or a small int or a medium int or an int or big int, or you can define as decimal or float or double. So these are all the different data types within the numeric family in Mysql. So it's equivalent in Postgres, Oracle and SQL Server. You can see in a different columns. If you see the money data type that I talked, it's only available in SQL Server. It's not available on MySQL, Postgres or Oracle. Okay, so let's say that here I'm just saying int, right? But again, I introduced different data types within numeric. So what is the difference? Why do I need so many data types? Why can't I say only integer, right? So let's say that you want to store something like age, right, in a table. So that age is like 99 or maybe 110, 115, Guinness World Record people, the max age. It won't go beyond that, right? So let's say if you define a big int for the age, that means you can store large number. So I think I have a slide here somewhere. Let me pull that. Yeah. So big int is like it can store such a huge number. So you don't need this number to store a age, right? You can use tiny int where the maximum and minimum values, minimum is -20, 128, maximum you can store is 127. You cannot store 128 or 130 when you define tiny int, So that's why, depending on the business requirement, you select. But again, I can select int, I can store age here, but what is the difference? Your performance, you'll be wasting space on the hard disk or in the database or on the table, because to store an int, it will take more bytes, when compared to store a tiny int. So that's the reason you need to tell to database table to say that, hey, I want to store only tiny int, you need only lesser space here, stuff like that. So as you can see, big int has, I was involved in a project back while working in Canada. We all the tables were defined as integer for the primary key, but we had a table where we had more than 2 billion rows, the sequence number 1 2 3 4 5, right? So that means we reached this maximum number in practical. So we had to convert this int into big int, so that we can keep on going until 3 billion, 4 billion, or whatever, however you could read this number here, right? And then again, like if you want to store price, right, you need decimals. Of course, for SQL Server you have money, but other databases doesn't have. So you need to use decimal and say that 12 comma 2. That means I want to use a length of 12. Out of the 12, I'm going to use 2 characters for storing decimal. Okay, so that's how you choose the different data types. You define the different data types. And then string we have already talked about char, we have char, right? And then you have more than that: text, medium text, long text, tiny text. You have clob. The difference in this is same thing. It will take lesser space, more space. For a bigger, like if you want to store whole Facebook post, you use something like text. You can't use varchar, because varchar has a limitation, character has a limitation. Where is this? So in a character you can store maximum 255 characters, varchar 65,000. If you have bigger than that, you define it as a text, so you can go maximum of 4 GB when you define it as text. But again, you have implications on the performance. I don't want to explain about this at this stage. Okay, so just according to the length of the data, you define or you choose your data types. Okay, so that's what you need to worry about. And again, within the dates also we have different data types: date, time, timestamp, year. In the date you can store like January 21st 2025, right? In the time you cannot store the date. It will be like 2 p.m. or 2 a.m., 12 p.m. Stuff. Only you can store only time. In the timestamp, it will allow you to store both date and time together. Okay, even the date time is same thing, date and time together. Timestamp is to say, okay, currently, okay, when does this order happen to this second? That's where you use the timestamps. And apart from this, there are other data types. Boolean we already talked, to say yes or false or 0 or 1. Okay, but Boolean is not available in Oracle. So you have to use number 1, something like that. Okay, and then bit is like 0 1 in SQL Server. You have different blob, where binary. JSON is another interesting data type that we'll be talking about. Okay, that's it. So see, like don't get too much stress about these data types, looking at these tables and all, right? Just as I keep showing you these tables or these snapshots, just integer, varchar, decimal and date. Just keep it to that. That's enough for creating tables. Yeah. So what is next? JSON data type is